Welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. My name is Rob Murgatroyd, and I'm a former doctor turned lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I interview some of the best minds on the planet on the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. Come take this journey with me. Excuses are over. It's time to live.
Part of the reason why I talked about tennis, and I always talk about it, is because I think if you devote yourself to a sport or a hobby or something, like you learn this work ethic that 9-to-5 rat race people just don't really ever understand. They can't comprehend it. Every last interview I love, every legend, every celebrity, everybody who has influenced me or the world, I'm grateful. Remember, I'm from a small town in Connecticut, so whatever happens, I'm loving every second of it. That was a really dark time, but now looking back, that was the best thing to happen to me because it made me a more conservative trader. And frankly, I wouldn't be the same person without that big loss. Like those scars help mold you. So I'm very grateful for it.
What's up, everybody? This is Rob Murgatroyd, and welcome to another episode of the Work Hard, Play Hard show. This episode features Timothy Sykes. You can find him on Instagram and elsewhere at Timothy Sykes. I wanted to have Tim on the show because I really needed to understand who this guy was and what he was about. So if you watch him on Instagram, you'll see him in Africa on Tuesday playing with giraffes at Giraffe Manor. And then on Wednesday, he's in Manhattan being interviewed by CNBC about stocks. And it's like this every week of the year. What he does is he teaches people about investing in stocks, and he'll give you a ton of strategies around that and how he got into that. But this interview is about so much more. He's going to teach you how to live this one life you have with absolute gratitude and fulfillment, which is exactly why I created my Work Hard, Play Hard Mastermind, to help you with that, to help you get to a level 10 in fulfillment. If you are a hard-charging entrepreneur that is spending way too much time in front of your computer and not living the life that you want to live, come join us in 2019. We're going to be in Boston, Monaco, and Italy. We are now more than half sold out. So if you want to be part of this with us, fill out an application at workhardplayhardmastermind.com, and we'll jump on a call to see if you're a good fit for the group and if they are a good fit for you. So think of the mastermind as having two parts. The first part is the trip itself. We'll be heading to Boston and doing things like meeting with Tom Brady's trainer at Gillette Stadium to get a metabolic baseline to help improve the fitness part of our life. Going to the south of France, where we'll have helicopters waiting for you in Nice to drop you into Monaco. And then we're going to wrap the year with doing some fun stuff in Italy, like truffle hunting. The second part is what goes on actually in the 4-day masterminds. Our group of 25 entrepreneurs will help you brainstorm and accelerate what you want to achieve in 2019. And we'll do that through a variety of exercises, or we'll help you figure out what the next chapter is for you. So go to workhardplayhardmastermind.com, fill out the application, and we'll jump on a call to see if you're a great fit. All right, please enjoy this conversation I had with Timothy Sykes. Tim, welcome to the show.
How's it going, man?
It's going really, really good. You know, I have been looking forward to this for months. Getting on your calendar is like getting on a president's calendar. I mean, that is not easy to do, man. You are one busy dude.
Yeah, sorry about that. I do kind of have a crazy schedule, but thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for taking the time. So I thought today we would cover a few things. We would cover a little bit about your work, kind of your play hard life. The show is called Work Hard, Play Hard, so we cover both. And then we'd wrap up with some rapid fire questions. Sound good?
Cool. Let's do it.
All right. I think a good place for us to start would be growing up in Orange, Connecticut. Can you sort of paint a picture for us of maybe some of the things that your parents did with you, say from ages 5 to 10?
I don't remember exactly that age, but I mean, growing up, that's a while ago. Growing up, I mean, pretty much ages, I want to say like 7 through 17. I played tennis every day. I was a tennis player I was obsessed trying to go pro, trying to get into a good college with tennis. And I mean, I studied, I lived a rather normal life, but I was like that weird kid who would wake up at 5 a.m., wear warm-ups to school because I played tennis before, the school started. And school starts at 7:30. So I'm up so early. I'm in bed early. Like I was like true athlete eating, cod for breakfast. I was so like determined to be like a professional athlete. But then I forgot that I'm Jewish and, Jews aren't really that good at professional sports. So I can say that because I'm Jewish. I don't know if you are or not, but I just was never really going to make it. So I got injured. I actually overtrained, and that's what got me into the stock market senior year of high school. My dad calls it the $1 million injury.
I'm not Jewish, but I grew up in Queens, New York, in an area just outside of Forest Hills, which is like 90% Jewish. So I only dated the Jewish girls. All my friends were Jewish. I felt like I had my own bar mitzvah, but my family is actually from Naples, Italy. My mom is from Naples, Italy. My dad's family is from England.
Nice. Mazel tov.
Yeah. Mazel tov, right?
I was just in Naples a few days ago. I was trying out your pizzerias. They was delicious.
Oh, you know what? Naples is insane. I got married in Positano, which I know you were there as well. You kind of been everywhere, which we're going to get into.
We're in Positano. Literally, that was where I was going to get married. I didn't end up getting married, but I had Villa Treville booked.
Oh, we got married in a hotel there called La Cyranus.
I know La Cyranus. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was an absolutely once in a lifetime experience. It was incredible. We spent a lot of time there.
But Villa Franca actually has better Wi-Fi. I've been there 5 summers in a row. I'm like a Wi-Fi expert now.
What did you think you wanted to be when you were in high school?
I wanted to get into a good college so then I could theoretically become like a mutual fund manager or hedge fund manager, work on Wall Street. So that's what I was really using tennis for. But again, I lost in the state finals junior year in high school. That made me want to win the crown senior year. So I was like, playing for 4 hours and lifting for 2 hours. And my Jewish body just can't take all that. Like I'm made to sit at a desk. Right now, I'm sitting at a desk. So I'm embracing my destiny.
You feel very comfortable where you are right now.
I'm very comfortable. And in warm weather, okay? I'm actually in Miami Beach right now. This is Hebrew heaven for my sinuses. So it's perfect.
Oh, my God, this
I'll
is
make the jokes galore. I'll keep going.
You are making me fucking pee my pants right now. I'm actually going to reach out to you. Just book Tel Aviv. So I think you're the guy that's going to help me get through Tel Aviv.
Cool. Let's do it.
All right. So I know with tennis that you wound up having an injury that ultimately led to the Tommy John surgery. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any issues with it now, or was it a good surgery, super successful?
No, it was successful. I just, it happened on one forehand where like my elbow just popped and it felt like I was getting shot. I mean, I've never been shot, but I imagine that's what it would be like. And every time I hit a forehand, even though, I'm medically cleared, I still kind of hesitate just a little bit because I think of that popping sensation. So I never really got back to the level that I was at.
All right, so let's move forward a little bit into what you are really known for, which is the world of the stock market. So around 1999, the stock market was nuts. Your parents let you take the $12,000 from your bar mitzvah. They said, Mazel tov, have a good time. And then you turned that into $100,000. And then in a year, it was $1 million before you graduated high school. To what do you attribute your ability to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it was 100,000 plus senior year of high school with nearly $1 million freshman year in college. So it was really like 2 years that was amazing. Right place, right time. And I was obsessed. Part of the reason why I talked about tennis, and I always talk about it, is because I think if you devote yourself to a sport or a hobby or something, like you learn this work ethic that 9 to 5 rat race people just don't really ever understand. They can't comprehend it. They're trying to think about like, when am I going to get out of here? They're doing it hour by hour. And when you truly love something, when you truly want to be the best, hours don't fucking matter. Like you need to do whatever you can to become a master. Like whether it means staying up all night, doing some crazy stuff. I was not even voted captain of my tennis team, even though I was number one in the state. My team did not like me because I was fucking insane. We played in New Haven, Connecticut. Our own tennis courts weren't built yet. They were going to be built like a year later. So we were using Yale's tennis courts, and Yale also has Yale Stadium. So every single time for practice, I would run up and down this, 50,000 seat stadium, all the steps before practice and after practice, because I was that insane. And, part of the reason I was a dick, but also part of the reason why I wasn't a captain is because if I had that power, I would make my whole team do that, and nobody wanted it that bad.
What led to your dickiness? Why were you a dick?
I guess I was kind of like Kobe Bryant mentality, where like I knew I worked hard, I knew I was the best, and I got cocky. Same thing happened when I first made my $1 million. Like I've always had cockiness problems when I was so successful. Later, I became a philosophy major, and that calmed me the fuck down. But I was a dick. I've had problems with being a dick before.
It's interesting and incredibly honest of you. Speaking of Kobe, our mutual friend who turned me on to you, Lewis Howes, just interviewed Kobe, I think last week.
Yeah, I saw that picture. That's pretty crazy.
Really, really cool. I just got back from Mykonos, which we're going to talk about in a little bit with Lewis Howes.
I'm in Mykonos on social media right now as we're doing this interview. I was there last week. We're like following each other. I was at Cabo Tagu.
Oh, I just did a whole thing there. I was just at a party. Okay, well, we're going to talk about that in a second. Okay, so let's move forward. Let's talk about college. Can you walk me through the story of buying $250,000 of ISCO maybe $25,000 of ISCO, and then you turned that into $100,000? Is that what happened there?
Yeah, it was basically that. Actually, at the time, I was worth $250,000, and I used roughly $170,000, so 3/4 of my net worth at the time, on this one stock on a Friday. Because at the time, the stock market was exploding. They said they were going to be on TV over the weekend. They had this technology that at the time seemed very valuable, where it could reduce the fuzziness in cell phones. At the time, it was kind of tough to get good cell phone reception, early days. And they were going to be featured on TV. So I was thinking, wow, blockbuster potential technology. The stock was already up from 5 to 17, so it tripled. But like a fucking idiot, I put in so much of my net worth, not thinking about the risks, not thinking that there ever could be an expose, not even knowing about exposés or short selling at the time. I was blissfully ignorant. And sure enough, this was year 2000. So the TV show was very positive, saying this is going to help all cell phones. And I thought, okay, I'll sell it. I bought roughly 10,000 shares at $17. It closed at 17.5. I thought that, okay, with the TV, maybe on Monday it'll gap up to like 20, 22. I'll make 30, 40, 50,000. That would still be my biggest win at the time. But instead, it kept going. And there was no pre-market trading back then. So by the time the stock market opened at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, it was at 27, climbed to 29. I finally sold it. I made, over $100,000 as a freshman in college. And I took my whole dorm out to dinner, and the bill was only $800 because none of us could buy any alcohol because we're freshmen in college.
That's awesome. So I bet it was a good day. You're sort of known for short selling active, volatile penny stocks, which a lot of people stay away from, which is, a very unique niche for somebody in your world. For people that are looking to sort of dip their toe into that world, are there any high-level tips or strategies that you can share for people?
Yeah, I go short selling actually primarily in the past 3 or 4 years. I've been primarily long. I go back and forth. Like short selling, you're basically exposing scams, kind of like the Wolf of Wall Street. There's still lots of little scammers, not necessarily any one big Wolf of Wall Street anymore. But you can make money when these stocks go down. So you basically just have to find a scam. All you have to do is go look at Delray Beach, Florida. That's like the number one place in America for scams, or Vancouver or Belize or Cyprus or Panama. A lot of these sketchy places where there's just a lot of weird companies going on. And if you look at the SEC filing, so if you're ever invested in a company that you have questions about, you can go online, you can read their legal documents. In the legal documents, they basically say we have no money, we have no cash, we're very speculative. They don't say that they're a scam, but they basically say everything up until using that word. I've exposed a lot of scams just by reading the SEC filings where the company admits, okay, we're paying the CEO's cousin $5,000 a month. We're paying the CEO's wife. If you Google Street View the map of their headquarters, I've seen companies based out of barns, out of apartments. One company was based out of a honey baked ham store. It blows your mind. With the internet, you can do so much research, and you should, and you need to dig on any company, no matter what the technology is, and you'll be surprised at how much sketchiness there is in the world.
Yeah, you mentioned celebrities. There are a lot of celebrities that are promoting penny stocks, and people don't realize that there are, but there are. And they certainly have no idea about the company's financials. Can you tell us the story of getting a cease and desist letter from Shaquille O'Neal?
Yeah, so I've gotten a few celebrity cease and desist letters. Shaquille O'Neal was my first, and that was the scariest because I was just a blogger writing about NXTH, which was the blatant pump and dump. They had this, wannabe product. It was like a replacement for Splenda, and it sounded good. I'm sure they gave Shaq like a cup of coffee and put the wannabe Splenda in the coffee, and Shaq's like, "Oh, this is good. I like it. I'll invest." So he got, millions of shares in participation for them using his image on mailers. Just a very simple rule to live by. If you ever get a mailer, whether it's email or a hard copy mailer, it's a piece of shit. It's a scam. They're spending money to advertise the stock to you. They're not spending money on the actual product. And that's what NXTH was. They had Shaq's image saying Shaq is going to pump up sales. And all they did really was pump up the stock price. If you actually read the SEC filings like I talk about, you could go into their agreements with grocery stores and you would find that they actually lose money on every single packet that they sold. Why would you do that? Like, forget about the production. I mean, just based on what they're charging and what it costs them, they were losing money. Why would you sell a product where you're losing money? The more products you sell, the more money you lose. Because they just wanted the press release saying that they're in the stores of Kroger's, they're in this store, they're in that store, because it pumped up the stock price. And that's what Shaq did successfully. So I exposed it. Shaq didn't know. I wasn't like, Shaq's evil. He's just financially ignorant, like most, celebrities. And sure enough, the stock started collapsing after going up literally every single day for like 3 months when they kept sending more and more mailers out, like Wolf of Wall Street or Boiler Room is another movie. And then it collapses all in a day, 2 days, 3 days when there's no more promotion because it's up on thin air. And Shaq actually was smart enough to have an out clause where once the stock cracked below $1 a share, he was out. But everybody who believed in him, and just like these other celebrities, everybody who believes in the celebrities, they get crushed and they start hating penny stocks. This is why penny stocks are so hated, not because they're evil, just because if you don't know the rules of the game and you get crushed, you just want to hate on whatever crushes you.
Why did you decide to go into penny stocks out of all the things you could have done?
I never chose penny stocks. Penny stocks chose me. I would never choose such a weird little niche in the markets that pretty much everyone hates and everyone who meets me thinks I'm like a scam. That's not what I would choose. I just have always made money on them. And frankly, I think they're easier once you do learn the rules of the game. The problem is the world doesn't. I mean, it's like a Ferrari. If you're driving 200 miles an hour on, a road in a sharp bend and the miles per hour limit is like 30 miles an hour and you go off the cliff and you die and you're like, damn, I shouldn't have gone 7 times over the speed limit. Well, is it a Ferrari's fault or is it your fault? You didn't know the speed limit. You didn't know how to drive. It's not the Ferrari's fault. If you go 200 miles an hour on a straight path, like on the highway, or maybe not the highway, but like at an airport or something where you're just going fast, a Ferrari is fantastic. Trust me, I've gotten up to 195. It's a fantastic feeling. You just don't want to turn. So if you know the rules of the game, it's fantastic. So for me, I've made a lot of money. I made nearly $5 million on this, greatly hated niche. And now I teach the rules to other people so that, they're not so dumb anymore.
I'll tell you something funny. I'll be 52 next week. And in 1984, I was in my last year of high school and I did an internship with Charles Schwab. And the internship basically meant that people called the telephones for quotes and I punched it into the computer. Nobody had computers during that time. And I would tell them what the stock was trading at. And I remember when they would ask for a quote that wasn't on, the typical exchanges, it was always a penny stock. And I had to go all the way to the other side of the office and find this thing called Pink Sheets. And I had to flip through Pink Sheets to find the quote. So I figured you get a kick out of that.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday. First of all, you sound amazing for 52. But yeah, I mean, this is the ugly niche, like the gutter of the stock market, the stuff that no one talks about. But the sad reality is that these companies and individuals and even celebrities pump these little piece of shit stocks up. And it's, people who don't have a lot of money that get hurt the most. Then they start hating on finance. They hate the stock market. when they really should just hate their lack of education. Like there's always going to be pump and dumps, like not even just penny stocks. I mean, you could say Enron was a giant pump and dump. WorldCom, I mean, they're gigantic scams too. Bernie Madoff was president of the fucking NASDAQ. There's always going to be liars and manipulators, but if you know how to spot them, it's actually fantastic. There's a lot of people who do what I do now and they claim to teach, but they refuse to show all their trades. They refuse to show their audits or income tax returns like I do. So if you just know which questions to ask, you can be safer.
Well, let's talk about that. So now one of your students took this strategy and they turned $1,500 into $2.7 million in 4 years. That sounds absolutely insane. Is there a clear path that somebody can follow to accomplish something similar?
So we actually have to update that. He's closing in on 7 million in his 7th year. We haven't even been able to keep track of him, and I now have 5 millionaire students. There's no one right magic formula. A lot of it comes down due to opportunity. Different sectors heat up at different times. Right now, as we're filming this, it's the weed beverage niche. Like all these companies like Coors and Diageo are trying to get into the weed beverage sector. So you have a lot of little companies spiking up on the potential to have big, best-selling weed beverages. Before that, it was Bitcoin. Before that, police equipment, Ebola, gold, biotech, nanotech, medical, robotics. I mean, there's been so many hot sectors. So for me, it depends on when is there a hot sector? Am I prepared to capitalize on it? Because the cool thing is when there's a hot sector with penny stocks and with these small cap companies, it's very much based about human nature. A lot of big hedge funds, a lot of the smartest, richest, most intelligent people in the world don't trade these kinds of stocks. So I'm competing against basically fucking morons. I make the comparison like if you're playing basketball against mini-me as opposed to Michael Jordan. If you're trying to trade Amazon, you're competing against Michael Jordan. If you're competing in the penny stock world, it's much easier because there's not a lot of money to be made. So it's cool to be able to turn a few thousand into a few million, but that's best case scenario. The single best thing I can say is to take it one trade at a time. And the way to make millions of dollars is to make $1,000 or $2,000 at a time on different patterns, different trades, because 1,000 times 1,000 equals a million. And a lot of people forget that.
Got it. All right, let's move into social media for a second. There are very few people who get my attention the way you do on Instagram. Your last posts have you on a boat in Positano and with a cheetah in South Africa, or at the hotel we just talked about, Cabo Tugu in Mykonos. What is behind this strategy of what you do on social media?
So it all comes down to studying. What I found, the thing that works best for my students is studying my now 5,600 video lessons, 14 DVDs, 1,000 webinars, learning basically stock market history. I'm basically a glorified history teacher. But studying the history of the market is not fun. Everybody just wants hot stock picks. So it's my daily job. What can I do to get people to actually study? And if I post a picture of my Lamborghini or, me with a cheetah, that's actually a great cheetah charity called Ashia down in South Africa. I love my charity stuff too. But if I post inspirational photos and videos, it gets my students studying harder, like triple or even quadruple the number of views on a video lesson, whether it's the same video lesson or not. If I change the thumbnail or if I, talk about like, wow, I just drove my, Ferrari 195 miles an hour. By the way, here's a video lesson that teaches the basics of the market that'll help you get a Ferrari eventually. So it's about kind of inspiring my students. So that's why I use like daily inspiration a lot. And frankly, it works well on social media too. I'm basically doing one giant crowdsourcing for dedicated students all over the world. My latest millionaire student, Stephen Ducks, found me because he liked my Lamborghini. He wanted his own Lamborghini. Now he actually has one and he has a McLaren too.
What I actually think is so cool about this is you said somewhere, and obviously I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, I get motion sick, I need Dramamine, I'm Jewish before I get in the Lamborghini. But if I posted a picture about art, which I'm actually interested in, nobody would give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I take one for the team with what motivates people. I love food, I love art, I love history. That stuff doesn't fly on social media. So I kind of try to understand what motivates my students the most. And it's cash, cars, travel. I post a lot about charity. Those are my least liked, least commented upon photos and videos, but I don't care. I'm going to fucking post that because I'll try to change people if it's the last thing I do.
Are you concerned as you're getting older and you're getting into things, because now you have cash, you've had cash for a while, but now you've got even more cash. And so you're becoming, things like Ferraris and Lamborghinis, I'm sure, are not as exciting as they once were. Do you find yourself distancing yourself or not being as connected, let's say, to what excites your audience anymore? And you're just sort of doing it just to do it?
I mean, that's a great question. But for me, this is part of the reason why I don't have any social media manager. I don't put the task on anybody else. I'm the one personally responding to DMs. I'm the one personally posting everything with the captions, with the photos, with the edits, with the videos. So I have, my finger on the pulse of my community. And I see, based on comparing what works on Instagram to what works with teaching. So I can see the number of views. I can see how many people are on the website. I can see which stories get most people clicking. So I'm always adapting. And frankly, I love it. Like I could not outsource it to somebody if I wanted to, because I am using this, one giant science experiment to my advantage. That's the beauty of social media. Like you can learn what your audience likes, not just likes, but what motivates them to do certain tasks. And it's fantastic for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's your X factor. So you definitely don't want to lose that for sure. If we move off of Instagram for a second, you've been on places like CNN debating God and sex and greed with a porn star and a rabbi. You've been on page 6 in the Post. Which media outlets have been the biggest, most successful thing that you've ever done to get your message out there?
For sure. I was most excited about Larry King, getting interviewed by him. He's a living legend, and it was a fantastic interview. That was great. But I was surprised by how big my Steve Harvey interview became. Steve Harvey flew 2 of my students out, my parents out. He flew me out. We did this whole in-studio thing, and it was, just a 10-minute clip, but it took like 3 hours to film. He went way off script, just asking tons of questions, and I was happy to answer, anything at all, I'll answer. Feedback from that has just been overwhelming the past few years. And I don't know how many stations and how many markets he's in, but it keeps playing and people find me. So I'm very thankful for Steve Harvey.
That's interesting. What about Larry King? How did that one happen? He's one of my idols. I love him.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing interview. I mean, he's amazing just to meet him. He shook my hand so hard. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know he has that much strength. I felt like maybe he was
right, he's 200 years old. Yeah,
maybe he was like sucking the life out of me. Like this is why he meets everybody. He shakes their hand, and then it's like, I've got your life force. Now I've got another 2 years. Yeah. I don't know. But he asked some really great questions and we had a good conversation. And we both made Jew jokes, but there was just some X factor about the Steve Harvey show that I can't even explain. That was just next level. Larry King, I'll always remember this experience. He is truly a living legend. But I don't know, Steve Harvey was just, it surprised me. That's why I'm even talking about this, because I just didn't expect it. Like I watched Steve Harvey, it was right after, it was actually the first episode he filmed right after he screwed up on the Miss Universe. He actually screwed up with my 2 students too. He got their names wrong and I tried to make a big thing about it. No one cared, but it was just cool. Every last interview I love, every legend, every celebrity, everybody who has influenced me or the world. I'm grateful. Remember, I'm from a small town in Connecticut. So whatever happens, I'm loving every second of it.
Was Larry for Hulu or for a radio show?
It was for his show. What is it? Larry King Now. It's not, I don't know. He went off. This was a few years ago, but I guess he has his own startup now. So it was for that thing. I think it was Aura TV is what it's called.
Yes, it's a one. But was it was actually a video, right? It wasn't just audio.
Yeah, no, video too. I mean, I went to his studio. We actually met up outside to prepare for the interview too. So
amazing,
it was cool.
Amazing. I gotta watch it. I watch him. I watch him every night.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about travel. You and I both are obsessed with travel. I just got back from Mykonos. Before that, I was in Cape Town. A lot of we're crossing paths a lot.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. How many days a year are you on the road?
I thought about this because literally I'm in Miami today, but I'm leaving for New York tonight, Toronto tomorrow, then Bali the next day. I'm all over the place. I would say I'm on the road probably 300 days out of the year. Like For me now, it's not just about travel. Like I've been to 117 countries. That's cool. But I'm running out of new countries and the high from traveling isn't there anymore. But now that, I'm growing my charity, my goal is to build 1,000 schools all over the world. So far, we have 41 opened. After this month is over, we'll have 45 because we have 4 new ones opening in Bali. So I travel, but now I'm actually, doing it with a purpose. And it's amazing to go to these places and give back to the community. I can't encourage people to do that more because, we're tourists. We go, we take, we drink pina coladas, we chill in the pool. But when you start giving back to the communities and connecting with them, it takes it to a whole new level. Now I have friends literally all over the world, and they're just so happy that I've taken an interest and I share it with social media. And now, my followers are donating. So I really think that there's a new industry that's, could have potential, that has legs, where you're taking travel up a notch and really getting connected to the places you visit.
All right, let's unpack this a little bit. So I think for the mere mortals that are listening to this, they're going, okay, wait a second. I'm in Michigan right now, and this guy.
We built a new library in Michigan. I donated $50,000 the other day to my student Tim Bowen. His local library is falling apart. So wherever there is, I have different projects. But I actually have a spreadsheet with 1,000 different charities. So far, we've donated to about 60 of them. But you don't have to build a whole school or library. I mean, you can just donate some time. You can go feed some horses. You can go take care of some pets, like walk some dogs. Like in Turks and Caicos, I donated 100,000 plus to this charity called Pot Cake Place that takes care of puppies and, sterilizes them and tries to find them homes, but they also need dog walkers. So it's not just about giving a ton of money or giving a ton of time. I think if you just get into the act of giving, even in Mykonos, right down the street from Cabo Tegu is Mykonos Animal Welfare or Mykonos Shelter Welfare. I forget the name of it, but they have a Instagram. Mykonos Strays is the Instagram name. And we went and visited and talked about what they did and shared it on social media. Now they, got a few hundred more followers, and now they're getting requests like, hey, how can I do this? Because most of the time people go to Mykonos just to party, but we actually went and we took care of some stray animals.
So cool. I want to drill down a little bit on the travel part. So tomorrow you're off to New York and then Toronto. Who does all of your travel booking? Do you do it yourself?
That's all me. I am a control freak. So I would not let somebody book my travel or take over my social media or do my watch list. This is probably why I have no life, because I'm too busy with my travel, charity, and stock trading and teaching.
All right. So you book it yourself. Now, yeah. Are you I don't even know how to ask this question because it's so antithetical, but I feel like I want to ask it. Are you a frugal guy? In other words, are you checking every price for airlines, or are you just like, fuck it, let's just go?
I mean, it depends. I'm not going to pay outrageous prices, but I'm also not like, oh, I need to, save 80% and use miles. I think it's somewhere in between. If you probably looked at my travel expenses, it's probably in the neighborhood of $500,000 per year, which obviously is excessive to the normal person, but compared to, what I do and my income, it's really not that much. I try to go where I need to, and I try to get there. I like to travel first class. I like private jets, but I'm also not going absolutely insane. I'm not just going to book a whole jet if I have to do an hour flight. Sometimes I take the train. Sometimes I just book a driver. It's kind of in between, I would say.
Okay, why are you going to Toronto and why are you going to Bali? What led to both of those as an example?
So New York is a last second meeting. Toronto is a last second meeting and actually filming with, I don't even know anymore. I just get a few different invites all the time. So I had to go up there, and I haven't been able to make it to Toronto in 6 months. So I'm finally making this up. I'm going to be in Toronto for maybe 6 hours. Then Bali, we have 4 schools opening. I do crazy things for travel. For example, 2 months ago, I was in Bali. We now have 11 schools there with my charity, but we had a school opening one day. I got a last second CNN request for an interview in person in New York. And I was like, damn it, I'm in Bali. I can't do it. And they're like, well, we're going to have to go with somebody else. And I was like, screw it, I'll make it. So I had a 25-hour flight from Bali to New York. I'm in New York, do the interview for 6 hours. Then we have another school opening the next day or 2 days later, so I have to get back. So 25 hours there, 5 or 6 hours in New York. I actually had dinner with my parents too. They were up in New York. And then 25 hours back to Bali. So I do some crazy stuff. It's all about, if you love what you do, you push yourself to the limits.
How much do you plan in advance?
Define advance.
More than 2 weeks.
I mean, I knew that my schools were opening in Bali, so that when you donate the money, I mean, I've donated, I think $300,000 or $400,000 now, maybe $300,000 now to Bali Children's Project. So once you donate the money, it takes a specific amount of months to actually build the school or the library. Sometimes there's weather delays, but pretty much when there's going to be openings. So I knew for the month of September that there's going to be multiple openings. So I booked a villa in Bali. I actually should be there right now, but I had all this other stuff come up. So my friends are in this gigantic villa without me and they're posting stories. It's kind of funny.
So are all of these trips related to your charity, or are a percentage of them just because you just want to go check out the place, or both?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix. Sometimes, we try to set up charity, but for whatever reason, it falls through. I'm not just going to donate to a charity hey, I'm here, let me find a local charity. I only want good charities. And frankly, there are a lot of bad charities, but I travel for my charities. Sometimes I travel for media. Sometimes I travel for myself or with my family. It's totally random. There's no rhyme or reason. And I just try my best to balance it all.
Are you in a relationship now?
No, I am not.
Okay.
I can barely take care of myself. So I'm not in a place for that. My business is booming and my travel is booming. And, frankly, I just have to be aware of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was my next question. How do you do this if you have, a significant person in your life? How would you do it when you're married? And how would you do it when you have kids?
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep up and trying not to get sick. Remember, I'm Jewish. I get a lot of sinus infections. So I've learned to only go to warm places. That actually helps me.
No, I get it. It's really easy for people to assume that you hit home runs all the time. Could you maybe share about a dark time or a hard time and sort of, how you got yourself out of it?
I mean, a few hard times. It's not just one. I mean, I talk a lot about my successes, but I also talk about my failures. I have my book called An American Hedge Fund. It was a bestseller a decade ago. It still sells. But in it, I talk about, my rise of, I ended up making nearly $2 million before I graduated college. But along the way, I also started a hedge fund and lost a third of the hedge fund. And when you lose a third of your hedge fund, even though I still finished up 2% over, 4 years, 2% per year, that sucked. You lose 30% on one investment, something's wrong. People thought, oh, you're on this TV show. Maybe the fame got to you. Maybe you got lazy. Maybe you got lucky. As it turned out, I invested in this print at home ticketing company. I got I would say distracted by how good the product was. They basically invented print at home ticketing before it was anything, but they also had debts. They were mismanaged. So I invested in the company. I invested in the product, but I actually invested in the company. And the two things are very different. I see a lot of people fall in love with a product and they think that the stock or the investment is going to succeed. It did not. I lost, a third of the hedge fund, which was pretty much the entire investment. The company went bankrupt. Little did I know, the CEO who told me everything would be fine bought the company in bankruptcy, turned it around, kept the contract somehow that they had, and later sold it for the equivalent of $40 million, which would have made me, over $10 million. So I was right about the technology, wrong about the investment, wrong about the CEO, and it killed all my credibility on Wall Street. If you Google Timothy Sykes, failed hedge fund manager, a lot of stuff pops up. So it sucked. I, turned to drinking for several months. I wrote my book because I was I want to get the real story out there, but nobody believed me. Everyone thought I lost all my money. That was a really dark time. But now looking back, that was the best thing to happen to me because it made me a more conservative trader, a more conservative investor, a better teacher. And frankly, I wouldn't be the same person without that big loss. Those scars help mold you. So I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah. I mean, it set you up for future success. Yeah.
But I didn't know. I mean, Reuters, when I first started teaching, Reuters had a whole feature article on me that said, failed hedge fund manager tries again on the internet. There was no guarantee that I would be successful again. But I knew that if I went back to my basics of just trading stocks instead of investing and following rules that I didn't previously know were so important, I could do well. And, within 3 years, there was a website called Covestor, a very good timing. I think I'm like Forrest Gump somehow, where everything good happens to me. And Covestor came along, verified my performance as I first began teaching in 2007 to 2010. And I became the number one ranked trader out of 60,000 on Covestor. So I started with 12,000 again, and I built it to over 200,000. Which obviously not as good as my first time around, but we didn't have the stock market bubble. And I was showing every single trade along the way on my website. So you live, you learn, you try your best. And frankly, I'm a better teacher than I am trader.
You know, you have like a Gary V stockbroker vibe. That's kind of your vibe that you have to me. Do you think that came from mom, dad, environment, nature, nurture? Like where did this beast that Tim Sykes come from?
It's definitely my experiences. I've lived a wild life, did not expect this. All my friends and family are still in Connecticut. I moved my mom and dad and uncle down to Miami Beach, got them a place. So they're out, but everyone else is still in small town Orange, Connecticut. And I'm grateful that I've traveled, just traveling all over the world, having the right perspective and putting everything in its place, understanding that, I'm grateful for every last thing. If I lose all my money right now, fuck it. I could probably make it back. I don't ever want to be a billionaire. I gave a whole TEDx talk where it frankly surprised the whole crowd, where I was like, I'll never be a billionaire. If I ever have too much in my accounts, I'll donate it to charity. And that's what I think is best. Like, you have to be very self-aware of what you've accomplished, what makes you happy, and what you want to do. And what makes me happy is not what I thought initially. Like, when you asked me, what did I want to be when I grew up? I thought like managing a huge fund, taking 1% of the profits and the fees, like in, working on Wall Street in these fancy suits, being on CNBC, that would make me happy. But frankly, I'm much more happy teaching people that have never been taught before. I'm happy focusing on my charity. I love, trying to find offices with a view. Like, I go to extraordinary lengths to put my laptop in a ridiculous setting to help people understand that you can work from anywhere. And this is different than in previous decades. So I kind of have evolved with my experiences and I go where I think there's opportunity. Like right now, I think the charity world needs a massive overhaul. So I'm up to the task.
Speaking of putting your laptop anywhere, I have a 20-year-old daughter, and she's in from California this weekend. And I told her that I was interviewing you, and so I said, you got to check out his Instagram. So while she was checking out the Instagram, she saw a picture of you in Cape Town with the penguins on Boulder Beach.
Yeah, Boulder Beach.
Yeah, she said, how the hell did he get behind that rope to sit with the penguins? They moved us off that. I said, I don't know. I could ask him though.
You didn't see me get yelled at by the locals a few seconds later because I went into their like sacred breeding ground. Like, I didn't know. I was just all excited. It was sunrise. So I sat on the rock, which I shouldn't have, and I got yelled at. So sometimes I'm a fucking idiot. I apologize to the locals. I apologize to all environmentalists. I didn't mean to disturb the eggs, but it's a great fucking photo.
Oh my God, she's going to pee in her pants. All right. I can't believe how fast time is going. All right. We're going to move into the play hard part of the show, which is going to be easy for you because you play harder than most people I know.
What? No, I'm soft.
So if I were to ask you, where would you most want to spend 1 month in the world? A full month anywhere, where would it be and why?
You got to give me more indicators. That's like people saying, like, if there's one stock.
No, just anything. No. If I said to spend
one place, Japan. Yeah. Japan. I love sushi. I have sushi on my phone as my background. I'm obsessed with sushi. So it would be Japan. I would eat as much sushi as I could. I love the culture. I love the people. I love the history. The time zone is the absolute worst for the stock market and my business and social media, but I don't give a fuck. I love Japan.
What is the one thing that's rocking your world now that has absolutely nothing to do with the stock market?
Charity.
Or charity.
Fuck.
Or charity. Because those are the two obvious. What's rocking your world that has nothing to do with what you're doing, which is the stock market or charities?
Okay. The one thing that's rocking my world right now is that I'm actually getting into fashion. In the past, I've never cared about fashion, but now I'm hanging out with a whole group of people and I look like a fucking bum. And like now I'm starting to look at stuff and I'm like, oh, I just got a pair of, Jordan's Off-Whites and now I got all this fancy stuff. I'm getting all this Gucci stuff. Like, I don't care about it, but I do recognize quality. I actually like the designs now. I like how I feel in, some of these fashionable clothes. Didn't see that coming. 37 years, never gave a fuck about fashion. You can always learn something new.
Interesting. If you had all the time and the money in the world, which you do, to pursue a hobby or a recreational activity, what would it be and why?
I do believe we have all the time in the world. I do believe the singularity is coming maybe in 2045, as some people think, but maybe a little later. And I do think that we're going to be able to live longer. So with that in mind, changing the world is a hobby. Like, when you make all this money and, okay, that's nice. You can go anywhere. You have all this luxury. It gets old. Like you said, with the Ferraris and the Lambos, I actually just got a new fucking Rolls Royce. I could care less. It's been sitting in a garage for a month. I haven't even seen it. I have no desire to drive it, but I know I'm going to make some badass motivational videos with it. Changing the world in whatever your capacity, whatever your expertise. For me, I know social media. I'm learning, the ins and outs of charity. I'm trying to merge travel. That's my little hobby. And I think it's fantastic. I think that you need to find a hobby that makes you so just, content. And it just helps you sleep well at night, where you're like, was today useful? Did I do something that I truly enjoyed? Not getting richer, not getting more followers or anything. In fact, charity, I actually shouldn't even post it because it kills my whole engagement, but I don't give a fuck. Like, it makes me happy. And that's what people need. And I think that you need to try a whole bunch of other stuff to make yourself happy. If you had told me 20 years ago that I would be teaching and into charity and into fashion, I would have been like, go fuck yourself. There is no way I care about any of that stuff. But it surprises you what you get into and, what has legs, like charity, building schools, changing the world. None of this stuff is easy, but if you're going to have a goal, you might as well have a fucking giant one.
Yeah, for sure. When you find yourself uninspired, what sorts of things do you do to find your way back?
I really can't remember the last day that I haven't been inspired. Like, I think that we're in such a unique time in history where you have so much potential, whether, you want to just walk down the street and share something with, your social media followers, whether you have 5 or 5 million. Or, look something up on the internet, whether it's art or some new hobby, or, connect with people in different ways. Or, I guess if you're a Peloton bike, you can even work out with other people and it's all interactive. I really cannot remember the last time that I have not been inspired. This is the most unique time in history, and it pisses me off that more people don't take advantage of it.
Love that. All right, let's move into the rapid fire round. Answer as quickly or as slowly as you'd like. It's basically a first thing that comes to mind rounds.
Cool.
What would your friends say is one of your superpowers?
My work ethic.
What's one of the things you're afraid of right now?
Putting my head underwater and breathing out of the wrong tube and dying while I try scuba diving.
What keeps you up at night?
Coffee or Celsius, depending on what time zone I'm in.
What do people never ask you, but you wish they did?
To describe the taste of the best sushi that I've had in Japan in full detail.
What's the one thing you want to get better at?
More physical activity, like coordination type stuff. Because right now I just stumble over shit and I'm not fully trusting of my body. And that kind of prevents me from doing a lot of things that I would like to do.
What audiobook or book have you re-listened to or reread?
Either The Fountainhead or The Alchemist.
Fountainhead. That's the Ayn Rand one, right?
It is Ayn Rand. And then The Alchemist is amazing too. So I've probably reread both of those maybe 5, 6, 7 times each.
What's the one thing that you own and should probably throw out but never will?
My old baseball card collection that's fucking rotting away.
If you had to give a TED talk on nothing that you're known for, so we're going to exclude charities and stock market, or nothing that you speak about, it could be on anything that you have a passion for, what would it be?
Food. I could be the number one food critic in the fucking world. By far.
I got to turn you on to a guy, if you don't know him. His name's Phil Rosenthal. He's on, you watch this on the plane. He's got a Netflix special. It's a TV series. It's kind of like Anthony Bourdain for Jewish guys.
Nice.
He travels around the world doing food shows. He's the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond's. I'm interviewing him next, as a matter of fact. And I think you would really, really dig him and his show.
Cool. I will. Thank you for the recommendation.
You got it. So the last question is, we're going to switch things up. What one question do you want to ask me?
how do you get so cool at 50 plus years old, and why are other old people so shitty?
You marry a girl 15 years younger than you.
Fuck! That's smart.
Well, dude, listen, you have a very, very busy life. I understand that the last charity event that you went to, you had a couple of pretty girls on your arm. So I don't think that you're missing out on anything in life, my friend.
I'm doing okay, but thank you. Thank you.
You're doing okay. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I hope somewhere in the world our paths cross and we get a chance to shake hands.
For sure. My pleasure. Where are you based? I don't even know. That's another question I need for you.
That's okay. I'm in Atlanta and I'm moving to Manhattan Beach in August.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll run into each other. I'll hear like your suave voice and I'll be like, whoa, that's that 50 plus year old guy who sounds like he's 35. That's fucking cool.
That's that old fuck. Dude, it was great. Great to talk to you.
For sure, man.
All right. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode and you know someone that needs some help in either stepping up their work hard game or their play hard game, it would mean the world to me if you shared this podcast with them to help me get this movement out there. So if you like what you heard, head on over to iTunes, take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, and I will be forever grateful. So until the next episode, excuses are over. It's time to live.